We do want to stay on track though, so we're going to take some time off of our next session, and we have the RTOC up here to talk about the third part in our series. So the first day we had heard from our federal partners about the federal, state, and tribal relationships, intersection, and jurisdiction. The second day, if you recall, we heard from our state partners about the same topic. And today we get to hear from the RTOC about the tribal perspective. So as you know, the RTOC serves 271 tribes in our region. We have opportunities to connect with our tribes, and our constituents host what we call a town hall. And so if you've never participated in one of our town hall meetings, we urge you to do so. We hold about 3 town hall meetings a year, and our next one will probably be in a month or 2. This is an opportunity for tribes to talk to tribal people, to talk to tribal people. So at our town hall meetings, we do not invite our federal partners, and we just want to develop that relationship with our tribes as we know how to do it. And this is an opportunity for you to bring any issues that your tribes are facing in the environment. And what our RTOC committee is here to do for you is to elevate anything that needs to go higher to EPA. So sometimes we hear from tribes who need help or clarification on something that's out of their purview, maybe, or that they need more help from EPA on. And we take those topics to our meetings, and those go all the way up to the regional administrator in Region 10, Casey Sixkiller, and his staff, and they all hear what we bring up from our tribes. So at this moment, we'd like to kind of share with you what we hear, not only in those town hall meetings, but through all the vast experience and years that this committee holds on the topic of relationships, intersection, and jurisdiction regarding federal, state, and tribal relationships. Anyone want to start? Aaron?
Sure. Well, it's been an honor to be able to serve on the RTOC. With the leadership that we have here, it's I've learned a lot. You just heard from this panel more of our elder statesmanship on the RTOC, and every time we meet, we have a lot of I think passion for what we do as a group, and always trying to uphold our treaties and back one another, even the Alaska Native tribes, where we recognize that the hardships of their status, ANCSA, all the things that they need to protect their environment, we do what we can to support the Alaska Natives. And so it's not been, I think some of the biggest issues that we've, Pebble Mine, for instance, Gayla brought that to our attention, and we've been working hard to make sure that we keep the pressure on to protect areas that are important to us. And so the leadership with Ray as our chair, I'm the vice chair. I think we work pretty well together in all the work that we do with Randy. Randy's been our backbone, because she really carries us. Sometimes when we can't get on the phone, she's there to make sure that we're informed. So I appreciate everything that she has done, and then all of our staff. I mean, it's just unreal. So we've come from a place of kind of disorganization to now being a very stable organization. So I'll just leave it there.
Good morning. Todd Mitchell, the Summers Tribe, the Western Washington RTOC rep. And I think one of the issues I've brought forward continually, and everybody else also continually, is the one of funding regarding our IGAP programs and other programs too. Because I think one of the things that we've seen over the decades is our funding has been pretty static. So it doesn't keep up with the cost of inflation at all. And we just keep bringing that issue along because it's been hard to build capacity, maintain our programs, and yeah, retain staff. So we got, turnover, and we got to start over, and really can't, build capacity in our programs. So we got to keep building capacity in our staff. So hopefully that message, we'll keep bringing that along, and hopefully that'll pay off literally in the future, and hopefully get some more funding to our tribes, because we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of things to protect, got a lot of things to fix, and to protect our people and our lands and our air and our water.
Testing. Yeah. You guys all know me, Lee Juan Tyler again, Fort Hall Business Council. But I've been on this RTOC since around 2007. And I didn't know what it was about. There was a piece of paper on our desk when I was on the council. And I told my chairman, I says, hey, I want to go check this out because I'm concerned about environment to protect it. And I went to Seattle, and then I didn't know about all this. And pretty soon they put me on here. Those guys over there put me on Region 10. And then they put me as a tribal leader. They put me on the national one too, National Tribal Caucus. And then they put me on a Tribal Science Council. I'm not even a scientist, but that's how we were slacking. We don't have enough people out there to do this because it's busy. It's tough. And I try to share best they can. And like I says, we try to get the reports out there, but I know, I think it started here, Fort Hall, 1995, I think, with the first meeting over at Red Lion, Pocatello. And then it seemed like our show band people wasn't interested no more. But then EPA started, and then the different things, 78, and then 84 it was established, the United States Protection Agency. And so all these things came into place. And so here we are now. But just to jump things real quickly, like I was mentioned, there's so many different groups out there as our trustees, federal agencies. They're all divided. They say, oh, we can't just go to one area and say, help us. Oh, those guys got to help you. Oh, they got to help you. That's kind of like how it is, big bureaucracy. So it seems like down here too, we have different programs that got to help certain aspects of certain things. And that's how EPA is. They got a big umbrella. You got all this Office of Water, Office of Air, Office of this, solid waste, and all different things. And then they give you the ICAM money. And when I first found out, they call it capacity building and all this. And then they tell you how you got to dictate how you spend it. You got to spend it for this, because you got to write a grant. It should be the other way around, because we live here. It should be how we want to help and spend it and protect our people. And so there's so much money out there, trillions that go around in different places of the world, third world countries. We should be getting it here in other areas, not just EPA, but other agencies out there should help us. Because, we're out here, we need our people need homes. Then we even need a little programs, projects for our people, maybe to go clean up our reservation. So I'll say that much for now. And that's a townhouse, I guess you want to call it. Thank you.
Hi, I spoke earlier and I'll be very brief. I'm the RTOC representative for Western Washington. And I'm also on the National Tribal Operations Committee. And like Lee Juan, I kind of got voluntold to do this. But it's great. I love doing this work, and it is tough work. It takes a lot of time, but we can be your voice in Indian country about EPA issues, environmental issues. Because on the national level, our committee talks to the administrator face to face in person in DC usually, but we talk to him directly, and he's the big man in environment, EPA. So I encourage you, to participate in the town halls and use your RTOC representatives to be your voice. Thank you.
Hi again, Cindy Marchand. I'm the Eastern RTOC representative. I think, these town halls, unfortunately, I'm pretty new and I missed our town hall, but I hear the same thing in the rooms. And today or this week, we've heard a lot of elders. And I know the most important thing for me is they've done a lot of work for our lands, our waters, our air, and I would feel really bad dropping that ball. They've done a lot of work for us to be here. And so they're passing that baton. And so any tribe that needs help with anything, I know I've been up here, I've written gap grants, I've done things like that. I would be more than happy to help you with any programs you have, any technical assistance, things like that. I do serve as a council person, but I have no problem if you would like to reach out to me to help with any of these documents. But again, I do hear the same things echoed in these rooms, that we want basic things like clean water, clean air, safe places for our children to play. I think also, I just spaced what I was going to say. I'm sorry, but they are the same things. My biggest thing is what I hear a lot in my area is transboundary mining. We deal with that a lot. And then to come up with, now we're hearing green energy. And so that's more mining, it's more pollution. And I really kind of feel like tribes take care of their lands. And because other lands are polluted, now they're looking into our areas for these resources. And I don't think that's fair also to kind of push us on reservations and then now want what we've taken such good care of. So I think we're all up here. We want to fight this fight and continue that fight for all of you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Andrea Summerall, and I am the Oregon representative on Region 10 RTOC. Thanks, Chris. I'm relatively new. I just started this at the beginning of the year, and I thanked Chris because she kind of met me last fall at OTEF and said, "Hey, tag." So I'm still sort of learning, and I'm sure I'll be learning for quite a bit longer. I do have a wealth of experience and wisdom up here to draw from. I will say, I often hear the same things from the people I have connected with that we've heard up here. I think one thing that I might emphasize is some people brought for me, and it's not just it's not really an EPA issue alone. It's the fact that we always talk about how there's not enough funding, but there's also the difficulty of getting and administrating and doing all the reporting for the funding we do get, and how, you spend a lot of funding money just supporting the maintenance of that funding. And especially now, we're always hearing about how much money is coming down the pipeline. And Mark Healy with Quiltribe, one thing he brought to me was the fact that it's so hard to find. There's so much money from so many different places, whether it's EPA, NOAA, the Forest Service or wherever. And some of it overlaps, on the same kind of programming. But you have to go to all these different places to find it. And wouldn't it be nice if there was just a one-stop shop for, divided up by how, what sort of thing you could do with that funding? I know that's not something that's much easier said than done, but just the difficulty of finding funding and then all of the reporting requirements. It would be nice if we could continue to work on finding ways to make that easier. Thank you.
Wakachinachit, Cassandra Johnson. I'm from Dillingham in the Bristol Bay region. I'm a I'm a Chokheung tribal member, and I sit as an alternate for Gayla Hossett and for the RTOC. Gayla couldn't be here today. She went back home. Some of you might know, I see a lot of Alaskans in here. It's fishing time. So people have been catching fish back home, and so she had things to do. But I sit here in her place, and when she's busy, I sit here in the meetings, and I like to listen. But part of listening is relaying. And we interface with the EPA in that matter. And I know working with the tribes in the Bristol Bay region, there's a lot of issues that we have to overcome and challenges that we have to overcome. Many of my fellow Alaskans that work in the IGAP programs know how expensive it is to run our programs in rural Alaska. It's also very expensive to live in rural Alaska. Bread back home's almost $12. Gas just went up to $7. When you start factoring in those things, funding is getting smaller and smaller. And we have really big issues back home. Backhaul is one of the biggest ones I hear, solid waste, and trying to get all the stuff that has come into our community back out, recycled in proper places so that we keep our communities clean. And it's expensive. So one of the things that I like to do is listen and relay and make sure that our voices are heard in Alaska to keep the funding that we do have right now. And then hopefully, advocate enough where we get more, where we can support our tribes in doing the important work that they're doing. And I'm so grateful for all you that are here now, and please come to us and tell us what's going on, what's your issues, what's your challenges that you face. Join us. You could come to the meetings. It's a possibility. Listen to what we have to say and how we interact with EPA in this level, on this level. And Kaya na nakfa for having me. Thank you. Oh.
Good morning. My name is Raymond Paddock. I'm the Environmental Program Manager for the Central Council of Clinton and Haida out of Juneau. I am also the Region 10 RTOC co-chair and am very honored to be working with this amazing group of people. And like Cassandra said, we're here to listen and to relay and hopefully bring some outreach and education to help you guys build your programs and your capacity. And in regards to relationship development, I kind of wanted to share a story on how we're doing some of that at Clinton and Haida. Like everyone has said, the funding issues has been a big problem for all tribes throughout the United States. One way we would hope to make that easier, even in regards to the reporting aspect of it, putting money just to get administration to take care of it, makes it harder for us to do our work. But we've been able to sit at the table with the USDA, the Forest Service, and the Natural Resource Conservation Group to essentially start building out our programs. They sit with us across from us and ask what we need. And in regards to that, it goes with the funding source too. So I don't know if all federal programs could do this, but this is a new approach. And I do like to acknowledge the Biden administration for working to create tribal relations, enhanced tribal relations, pardon me, to push these issues forward in a manner that meets our needs, how we work. So what I wanted to get at is basically requesting that all federal agencies, state agencies throughout the United States look to invite tribes to sit at the table to develop these programs, to make them more enhanced. So thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists. I do want to also pose a couple questions to you. Later today, we will have the opportunity to hear from a panel of elders from the Shoban tribe at 11. And we also have a session later in the day about the topic of treatment as a state or treatment as a sovereign. And on that note, talking about jurisdiction, could the panelists address, some of the opportunities that tribes have to assume the jurisdiction over their protection of their environment?
Well, that's a tough one for Alaska. In Alaska, for those who don't know, tribes don't have Indian country. We don't have tribal lands per se. So our issues start with hoping that we can sit across the table again with, be it the state agencies, the federal agencies, and we work together to create co-stewardship, co-management, and hopefully co-governance. An example, again, with the tribes in Southeast, we have no land. That's not ours. A majority of Southeast Alaska belongs to the Forest Service. So it's essential for us to work with them and to ensure that we are meeting our tribal needs, protection of salmon, protection of our forests. And it's a tough issue. Not all agencies, like Lewan has stated, they don't all work together. They're not cross collaborating. So each agency works different, but we're fortunate enough to get this moving in on the USDA side. And this also, I just want to give acknowledgement to the EPA. EPA has been one of the more progressive partners to tribes than most other agencies throughout the nation. But it's still, there's a lot of work to be done. I think the most important part, especially when it comes to the gap guidance and gap funding, would be able to sit with us to determine how that looks. Build that out together. That's kind of just where I wanted to aim at that, but give everyone up here an opportunity to hear what they have to say about relationship development.
Yeah, it's government relations is one of the hardest things for my tribe, at least. I'm part of the Northwest Indian Fish Commission. I've been there for 25 years or so, and Billy Frank and the rest of us commissioners came up with what we call a white paper. It's called the Treaty Rights at Risk. And it's about bringing together all the government agencies together to know what they're all doing for specifically Puget Sound and salmon recovery. I like to say that when tribes come to the table with issues, we don't just complain, we bring a resolution to that issue. Because across the table, they always ask, well, what should we do? And then we're ready. We tell them what we want them to do. It hasn't been as successful as I would like, but we have had a few small successes with, most of it's about habitat recovery. So we are having small successes, but that white paper, the Treaty Rights at Risk, is helping with that. So any tools that you can come up with to help you talk to the federal government is a good idea. Thank you.
Hello. I just put a quick plug in. I'll be in the upcoming session about treatment of state for water quality standards. But I think there are different levels of treatment as state, or I like that term, treatment as sovereign. Because almost all tribes are eligible to just apply for IGAP funding, Indian General Assistance Program. I know we use a lot of acronyms, so try and spell some of these out. But then there's a couple of different levels of others. So there's treatment as state for 106 Clean Water Act program to monitor your waters. Can also get treatment as state for 319 non-point source pollution monitoring, which is kind of an additive to 106. And then kind of next level for 106 is treatment estate for actually developing and administering your own water quality standards. So there are definitely different levels of treatment estate. And, trying to access, the amount of work and amount of funding you want to do on your own homelands. We've been doing it for a long time at Swinomish, so it is kind of second nature, but I know a lot of tribes may not be there yet. So yeah, any of us that have those kind of programs, are a resource to, talk with other tribes about what we've done and, what kind of things are helpful for us that were helpful for us, that can we help you.
Well, just
Go
real quickly, I just want to say, we always bring to the attention to our federal partners, federal agencies, some of them, they don't stay on the same course due to the fact, they're divided, red and blue Republicans and Democrats. So we always, remind them, hey, you're our trustees. You have judicial responsibility obligations for all the lands that we gave up in our treaties. And we always support everyone in Region 10 best we can. Pretty tough, but we have, similar to what Russ is saying, we used to have treaty right seminars here. Invite all our trustees and they come here and fill this place or other places, and we'd give them the importance of our treaty that we have authorization rights. So that's kind of, we're fortunate for that on federal lands. So we got to protect the federal lands as well. And so there's different sections, and the mining, the 18th century mining law needs to be amended. That's the one that they trump over everything. So really, it's really hard to fight them on that one unless we amend it. And we have to have the mineral rights, and the BLM has different, than the Forest Service has different laws and rules. All these different agencies have different rules. So that's the issue we have too as well. So we got to basically strategize and find a way to, like a chess match, and find a way to beat them at their own game.
Thank you, Lewan. And so I just wanted to do a quick check-in with our audience here in person and our audience online. How many people in the room are elected tribal leaders? If you could raise your hand. Wow, that's awesome. There's quite a few in the room. I would say 10-ish. Awesome. I see you back there. And then online, do we have any responses? Okay. Well, that's great. And I'm so happy that you're here. This is the Tribal Leaders Summit. And I know that you tribal leaders can't do the work that you do without your environmental staff. So can I have a show of hands of who is an environmental staff worker in the room? Oh, good job. Thank you so much, all of you, for the hard work that you're doing out there. The other little segment of folks I'd like to recognize are EPA. Can the EPA partners in the room please raise their hands? Thank you. Thank you. And I know we've had quite a few more of you here on certain days, and they've had to go back. So we've had a lot more representation from EPA here too. One of the biggest things that we really wanted to carry across this whole summit is that concept of relationship, right? We know we can't do anything in a silo. EPA can't get what they need done without the tribes. We can't get what we need done without EPA, vice versa. We all need each other, and we all need to foster these relationships. And that's one of the things we really hope you get from this, is an opportunity to connect with those various levels of people that all make the grand picture work. So to close out our session, I would like to know if, very briefly in one sentence, which is really difficult for some people, is can you give a word of advice to either one of those groups? We have tribal leaders, we have tribal workers, the employees, and we have EPA. So if you could think about something you'd like to share, word of advice, how to, do things better, anything that you could share with our guests that would give them a piece of a goal maybe to bring home.
as tribes, use your tribal sovereignty. Always ask for a seat at the table wherever you're at to help design out your programs. Be specific in your needs and what you're requesting. Yeah, I can, that essentially, please, as flex your tribal sovereignty muscle and always ask for a seat at the table.
My word of advice is always communication. If you're having challenging times or, you know, as tribes, things get a little difficult. There's people out there that want to help. So reaching out and establishing communication and building those relationships.
Mine would be, I guess, be open to new strategies or new ways of doing things. Just because just sometimes we get stuck in a rut and butting our head against a wall, but if we can open up, step back, maybe we can find a new way around it.
I think along with all of these strategies, I would say, don't give up. This is a really hard fight, you know, for all of us, for EPA back in DC, for tribal leaders, for tribal members, and for those that are working in the environmental field. And I know I always, when I get frustrated and upset, don't forget self-care. Go back to the water, go back to the land, and remind yourself what you're fighting for and what you're trying to take care of. So self-care and don't give up.
Thank you. Mine is to EPA. I want to say thank you and acknowledge Adam and his crew for staying here. As a tribal leader, that means a lot to me. But in my opinion, EPA is probably the best agency the United States government has to listen and to consult with us. They're still a young agency. We've been around since millennia. We're still trying to teach them how to talk Indian to us, how to talk salmon, but they're getting there. There's some bumps in the road, but we try to smooth them over and we try to get along. And the biggest thing I think for EPA is to listen. Listen and learn from us. We will teach you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say too. I was thinking about that. We have to keep educating our federal agencies, trustees, partners, because they have a big turnover as well. And so hopefully they'll really be serious and they'll see the significance and importance of all life out there. Everything from our medicinal plants to the species to the things we can't see and to our air. That's what I always mention too. Make sure we don't forget about our air because they call it a spectrum now. And so that's where we're going to be fighting over that next for Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Okay, words of advice. I would just say, you know, like for me, as part of this group, I draw from a lot of the energy that this group brings. You know, not everybody could be the Michael Jordan or LeBron James. You got to figure out what role you play in a group and how do you make an impact from your point of view. And so I guess that's how I see this group, and maybe even my work at home is trying to understand where I can be of usefulness to someone or to an effort. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd say kind of like what Ray said, like you know your values, so use your own voices. Us here at RTOC and NTOC, we're just another conduit to talk to EPA. So use your own voices, use your own government consultations with the agencies when you know you have an issue that you need to bring forward.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. Is there any, we have a final comment?
To add on what Todd was saying about using your voices and consultation process, always whenever comment periods come out, please use your voices. Always make sure that you do a comment or else your voice is not heard. They'll essentially just look at it. They didn't want to say anything. So unfortunately, that's the process of having your voice heard, is doing the consultation process and commenting. So, and if you have issues with commenting, again, reach out to RTOC. We have a great policy advisor in Rick Eichstead who helps us get our consultation processes going. So we can do the same for you guys.
Thank you. That's a great closing thought. And on that note too, we do have a lot of opportunities in our town halls. We share when we comment as an RTOC, which we are able to do on many of these things. As the tribal leaders well know, I've heard a statistic. Sometimes you get about 30 dear tribal leaders coming across your desk at one day. So could you imagine the ability for one tiny little tribe to respond to 30 requests for consultation and comment on something? It's impossible. So one of the tasks that our group offers for you tribal leaders is a template. So we have this opportunity, a unique opportunity to meet once a month to talk about these upcoming consultations through EPA anyways. And so if there's something that we are commenting on, we are more than happy to share our collective thoughts on that comment and give it to you to augment, change, delete things, add things, make it yours, but it's at least a starting point. So please don't hesitate, tribal leaders, to reach out to the RTOC for those types of things. And if we don't have a comment letter template on something that you're interested in for EPA commenting, reach out to us anyways, and perhaps we can help your tribe formulate that letter as well. So we don't want your voices to not be heard. That's one of the reasons we exist, is to help you get that voice out. To wrap it up, we have the next couple minutes free. And then at 11 o'clock, we will have actually a session talking about treatment as a state, or treatment as a sovereign, as a lot of people here like to call it. That's here in this room. And then we have contracting for brownfields work in Chief Aramo, which is around the corner and through the other hallway. So thank you so much for listening this morning. I know it's been a lot of talking at you. I really wanted to get some audience input, but maybe we can do that a little bit later. So continue to think about those prayers that you're offering up for healing for yourself or for the environment, and carry those with you through the rest of the day. Thank you so much.